the visual's perfect. It's just the audio. Yes, we do. Copy. Let. Yeah. Oh, I think I have it now. Test. Test. It's working.
Okay, it's working. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Cal. Have a good one. Okay.
With that, I guess we'll get started. Well, Wolfpack, welcome to the spring 2025 election debate. Woo! This is going to be great. My name is Zach Ettinger, and I serve as the chair of board of elections here in our student government for NC State. Over the night, you're going to be hearing from four offices specifically, our student body officers, for their debates. We're going to be hearing all about processes, whether it's leading the appropriation cycle, advocating for a student body, or even serving as a member for the Board of Trustees. Thank you, all of you, for coming out to this event. Thank you to the technician, to the Nubian Message for being our moderators for tonight. And, that's enough of me talking. I'll hand it over to our moderators.
Hello, my name is Kate Denning. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the editor-in-chief of Technician.
Hi, my name's Aliana, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Nubian Message.
Hello, my name is Shayar Del Judas. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the news editor of the Nubian Message.
All right. Thank you so much. With that, we'll move it over to our candidates. Candidates, you'll each have 30 seconds to introduce yourself. We'll start with Emery Schofield.
Hello and good evening. My name is Emery Schofield, and I believe myself to be uniquely qualified and extremely driven to be the next student body treasurer. I'm an economics major and will be a senior next year. I've served during my past 2 sessions in the Treasury branch, and I believe that these have prepared me greatly for this role. I served first as an allocation official, and most recently this past session as the assistant treasurer for financial literacy. This has taught me an extreme amount about leadership, the appropriations process, financial literacy programs and initiatives, and many more important duties that I believe will contribute to my success as student body treasurer.
Thank you. Lance Williams.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lance Williams, and I am currently a second-year student majoring in agricultural science and a candidate for your next student body treasurer. I have proudly served the student body in the past 2 years, first as a member of the first-year student delegation and Senate, and currently a member representing the College of Ag and Life Sciences. I can't wait to share tonight a little bit about how we're going to bring home the bacon for you and your student organizations.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to our Zoom candidate, John Carter.
Hi, everyone. My name is John Carter. I am a second-year accounting major in NC State's School College of Management, and I'm running for student body treasurer because I believe that the student body deserves someone with the financial knowledge and experience to be responsible for the hundreds of thousands of dollars that are allocated to student organizations each year. I look forward to the opportunity to serve in this position and to a great debate here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving on from those introductions, before we begin, I'll be going over a few rules. The first rule is, to ensure fairness among time. We have timekeepers here today. We have Emily and Caroline keeping track of our time. There are going to be 2 signals, one being a yellow card being held up. That's going to indicate 15 seconds left on the timer for the candidate to speak. And there will also be a red card held up. That will indicate that there's no time left. Candidates, once this is up, you are able to finish your sentence, but please keep it brief. Besides that, questions can also be repeated upon request. Please just be civil, be nice. As candidates, just don't say anything inhumane. And also for the audience, please make sure to hold all applause, anything like that, until the end of the debate. Thank you. With that, we'll pass it on to our moderators.
Thank you, Zach. Let's begin. We will be asking 2 questions in total. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. We will start with Lance Williams, then John Carter, and then Emery Schofield. We will alternate which candidate answers first for each question. After each question has been answered by all candidates, every candidate will have 1 minute to rebuttal any of the other candidates' answers.
First question. Student organizations often struggle with securing sufficient funding to operate effectively. How do you plan to improve the appropriations process or provide resources to organizations that allow them to become more financially independent? Lance?
Thank you for that question. This absolutely has to be the number one issue that we are seeing from student organizations when they're coming to the Treasury looking for money. This is obviously very important because student organizations need this money to be able to run. Issue I think we are seeing is that we simply are not able to give them enough organizations were getting probably around under $600, whereas they're able to ask up to $2,000. So there clearly is a deficit right now. So I think first and foremost, and something I'm currently working on as a senator, is that we need to pass a fee increase for student government. Right now, that is our top priority because there simply is not enough money to go around with our growing student body population and the great amounts of involvement that we are seeing with the students involved on campus. Secondly, I think the appropriations process can be slightly intimidating. If you are the president or treasurer of a club, getting a 20-page document to learn how to get money to your organization can be very daunting. And so while we do need to give them an ample amount of information, simplifying the communication process is going to be huge because a lot of the time, these treasurers, it's their first time ever sitting in that position for their club, and they have no idea how to work their way through this process. And we're seeing a lot of ineligible organizations are coming to us and just saying, sorry, I didn't know. And we need to uphold our rules as a treasury, but also ensure that we are being empathetic towards our student organizations and realizing where there are holes in the treasury. So in short, let's get more money for our student organizations through the treasury branch and make sure we're equitably sharing those funds to our student organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
Yes, thank you so much for this question. I want to start off first by recognizing that the appropriations and finance committee grants that are available to our student organizations are meant to supplement the income that those organizations are able to raise through fundraising efforts and through membership dues. In no way are the appropriation or finance committee grants meant to be a significant funding source for our organizations. Yes, they are, but I want to see a treasury that is helping our student organizations become financially responsible. And I want us to be able to give them the resources that they need to raise the money that they need to support their events. So instead of a fee increase, because I'm always skeptical about a fee increase, because at that point we're asking our students and we're asking all of our students to then pay for other things, and just in general, being a college student is financially challenging. And so I'm always skeptical of a fee increase. I would like to see more grassroots efforts to encourage our student organizations to raise the money that they need. And then another point is, one of the main points of my campaign platform is clear communication. From the student organizations that I've spoken with, they've told me that oftentimes they're unsure what is expected of them in the budget. And in their interview, they go in and then their budget isn't exactly what the Treasury is expecting. So I would like to provide an example budget for our student organizations. I want them to have a reference for when they're applying for these funds so that they know what's expected of them by the Treasury, and so that they can make this process a lot more efficient for us. We don't have to spend time communicating with them about the errors. They can just submit a correct budget, and then we can go from there, and that process is a lot more simple. Thank you.
Thank you. Emery?
Thank you for the question. This is really a unique topic, and serving the Treasury branch for the past 2 years, I've really been at the forefront of this issue. The problem is, with such a large campus and so much involvement, we have so many student organizations, and there's only a certain amount of money that we can give. So although we may be able to increase funds or maybe move for a different plan, I think the best thing that we can do is, as a Treasury branch, is sort of offer ourselves as a resource to these organizations. As the financial literacy assistant treasurer this past cycle, I worked on important programs and initiatives that would aim to increase financial literacy and therefore increase the knowledge and financial well-being of these organizations from sources that we can't provide. These resources would allow for these organizations to generate their own funds, to invest in themselves, and to scale, which is something that we can't provide necessarily all the time. I believe that these funds that we're giving and that we can give, although they may be minuscule, we can use this opportunity to build a connection with these student organizations, and that we can use that connection to better their organizations in general. And then moving on to the appropriations process as a whole, so like the other two candidates have touched on, I believe that by improving the appropriations process and innovating it, we will be able to effectively convey some of the key ways that these organizations can increase their funds, increase their revenue. And if we were to secure fee increases, that would hinder students that already, like was pointed out, that already may feel that burden of those fees. And so I would move to try to increase the financial well-being of these organizations from the ground up and serve as a resource. Being that we are the Treasury branch, I think we have a unique connection with treasurers, vice presidents, and other ambiguous positions. And I think that we can really serve as a good resource. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidates, you now have the opportunity to rebuttal each other's answers for 1 minute. We will go in the same order as the questions were asked. Lance?
I know my other two opponents have brought up a lot of skepticism for the fee increase, but personally, as chairman of the Permanent Committee on Tuition and Fees, I've seen an extreme positive response towards this fee increase. A lot of organizations have simply said, we want to see more out of student government. And while I absolutely think it needs to be brought to them with resources on how they can sustain themselves, we simply are falling short. The student organizations on campus are asking for more money, and I think we need to step up to the challenge when that comes. I can also confirm that the money amount we're looking at right now is going to be $1 or less. This is not going to be a huge financial burden on our students, but it will generate a lot of income for student government and allow us to better serve the organizations and serve them in ways that they expect of us.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, of course. So one thing that I'd like to address is basically the amount of funding that will be allocated to the appropriations process and to the finance committee grant process. All of that is going to be decided by a budget bill in this session of our student government. And so any promises that any candidate might make to increase the amount of funding will not really take effect until after any of us would be out of office. That would take effect in the 106th session with that fee increase and also a change in the budget bill. But what I can say is that as a student body treasurer, we're responsible for the creation of the budget bill. And if it is shown through the student body that they want to see more funds being appropriated to them instead of in other line items of the budget, I'm absolutely happy to consider their input when drafting next year's budget bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Emery?
Yeah. Paying attention to what my fellow opponents have said, I think the fee increase is not really something I was like necessarily harping on because I can see where it could be beneficial, but I'm just kind of offering a little rebuttal and kind of building off of my point before. I think that we can serve these organizations better if they learn how to build wealth and build their organizations self-sufficiently. I think it would be really worthwhile as a student body treasurer to kind of survey and ask these organizations how they feel about fee increases and what we can do. And I think that involvement and feeling that their voices are heard is something that we can focus on, and I think that should be of the utmost importance. Thank you.
Thank you for the second and final. Yeah, okay. Thank you for the second and final question. We will start with John and Emery, then go to Lance. The second question is as follows: transparency and accountability are crucial in managing student funds. What specific steps will you take to increase financial transparency and ensure students are informed about how their fees are being allocated? Emery. Or John, I'm sorry.
Is this being asked to me? I'm sorry, I'm struggling to hear.
Sorry, yes, it's for you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely. So transparency and clear communication are absolutely a part of my platform, and a couple of ways that I plan to increase transparency. So like I was talking about earlier with the budget bill is essentially the guideline for the next session. And so when it comes to my management of the Treasury branch, it's going to be based on the budget bill that is currently going through the Senate and is going through that process. So what I want to make sure that our student body understands is that all of the actions that I would be taking as the student body treasurer, as the chair of the Appropriations Council, as the chief financial officer and the chief advisor to our student senate and our student government, is that these amounts are already set. And yes, as the treasurer, I have the ability to shift up to 10% of those line items, excluding some other certain things. But I want them to understand that this bill that's going through the Senate right now is my guideline for how I need to operate my Treasury branch. And then I want to make sure that I'm including the input from our student organizations, from our senators especially, when I'm drafting next year's budget bill. Because if our student body is not satisfied with this year's budget bill, they might be angry at me. I have to administer it in the way that was determined by this Senate. I want to make sure that I am getting all of the input I can when I'm drafting the budget bill for next year, so that if we need to make some tweaks, if we need to shift some amounts around, I want to make sure that our student fees are having the greatest positive impact on our student body that they possibly can. And that's why I'm running for student body treasurer, because I believe that I can make that as fair, efficient, and transparent a process as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Emery?
Yes, thank you for the question. This past session, the Treasury branch was very focused on an initiative that we called Open Treasury. This initiative aimed at making our resources and what went on behind the scenes more available to students. And if I'm elected, I plan to continue this and innovate this. I believe that involving student organizations on campus of all kinds would provide valuable input, the same way that we see our government, state, federal, work with their business leaders in the private sector. I think that we can sort of model that with working with student organizations to get their valuable input, because really that's who we should be serving. So I think that to increase financial transparency, I want to have not only this Open Treasury initiative, but work with the Public Relations Department to kind of put more stuff out. I think this past session, we didn't have enough public relations and Treasury branch outreach with the general student body. I think that that's something that I would be interested in pursuing. Making sure that when we make big steps, big decisions that will affect student organizations and the student body as a whole, that everyone can have access to those on campus. And I want to make sure that student voices are being heard. I want to make sure that if they have opinions, that it feels like there is a clear line of connection and communication from the Treasury branch to the student body. I aim to try and make sure that whatever medium we choose that's most efficient, we allow for these organizations and these representatives from these clubs to be able to communicate with us, convey their opinions, and that's something that I focused on as the financial literacy treasurer, and I aim to continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Lance?
Unfortunately, I believe student government's best kept secret is our incredible comms department. They do a whole lot with sharing what we are doing within student government. And while they really are focused on Senate and some of our executive departments, I think there really could be a benefit in increasing the amount of comms involvement within the Treasury. So we do a lot of things with our student fees. Of course, we've talked about allocations and the finance committee grants, but we also do a lot of internal work with our fees. And I think highlighting the ways that we are internally using those funds to benefit the student body will be extremely important in making the position of student body treasurer seem more favorable across the student body and allow us to understand more of what this very powerful position is doing. I secondly think we need overall higher involvement within the appropriations process within our student government members. I'm proud to say I've volunteered over 30 hours for the appropriations process, but that really shouldn't be the case for how we're doing things. We really should have a much higher involvement with our student senators. So I think we need to just increase involvement all across our student government to make our treasury a more efficient process, because people appreciate that. We also, unfortunately, have to work a lot with the university as a whole, and there can be holdups there. So rather than us as a treasurer just saying, sorry, it's being held up at the university level, explaining that to the student organizations, that we're not just holding their funds for them for some stupid reason, but we really are trying to make it better for them as a whole. So we really just need to focus in on our efficiency and getting more people involved, and really leaning on our already established groups of people, such as our senators and our comms department, to make sure we are being an effective treasury.
Thank you. Candidates, you now have the opportunity to rebuttal each other's answers for 1 minute. We will go in the same order as the questions were asked. John?
Yes, thank you. I absolutely want to second Senator Williams's comments about the communications department. We have an absolutely fantastic communications department in NC State student government, and I absolutely think that they can be a resource in the future to explain to students how their student fees are being used. Additionally, another point that's in my platform that I recently published today is that the student body treasurer has the ability to serve as an advocate for our student organizations to our student senate. This past session, or this current session, Finance Bill 75 failed, which meant that a student organization that rightfully applied for funding didn't get it. And I wish that our student body treasurer would have spoken up to explain the procedural correctness of that bill. And that's something I pledge to do as student body treasurer to avoid another repetition of Finance Bill 75. Additionally, also in my platform, as Senator Williams said, is that I want to make sure that our student organizations understand exactly why there's holdups. And I want to be proactive when there's an issue on the university's side. I want to make sure that everybody understands exactly what's going on when there's a holdup. Thank you.
Thank you. Emery?
Yes, thank you. I like to build off of what the other two said, and I agree. We have very good established communication methods within student government, but I want to use the resources that are within the Treasury. We have a division for public relations, and I feel like utilizing that and maybe in conjunction with the communications department will be more effective at increasing this transparency. I want to move to also keep our resources up to date. I feel like something that happens too much is all of us are really busy students, and sometimes stuff that's going on might just fall to the wayside. Might think someone else is going to take care of it, but I will make it an initiative that anything that we do that will affect students in any way will be pushed forward. And yeah, thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Lance?
I really appreciate my other opponents bringing up the thought of advocacy, because we really are in a time right now where higher education funding is not always certain. So I really think that student body treasurer position would bring a lot of ease to our students when they know that their treasurer is fighting for them to make sure there is funding across our university. So I really think a bigger, more engaged treasury is really going to benefit the student body. Thank you.
Thank you. You will each have 1 minute for closing statements, starting with Lance, then John, and ending with Emery. Lance, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Personally, as a first generation college student, I didn't know what I was going to get when I came to campus. And I can say I have been very positively impacted by student government and the other organizations across campus. And thinking about students all across this university, these organizations are really enhancing and building upon their experience at NC State. So I really hope that we can really work as a treasury to enhance their opportunities at NC State. And I want to be a treasurer that everyone can feel is not only working to get the money to them, but advocating on their behalf when it comes to their funds. And so I really appreciate this time to debate tonight, and I really hope that we can all bring home the bacon for your student organizations.
Thank you. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to attend this debate tonight, albeit at 1 a.m. for me here in Prague. And I hope that I've shown the student body that I am the most qualified candidate to lead our Treasury branch. I'm always available for questions, and to keep up with my campaign and platform, please feel free to follow me on Instagram at cartercares.ncsu. Have a great night, everyone. Remember that Carter cares, and as always, go Pack. Thank you.
Thank you. Emery, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I just want to take a minute to thank my competitors and everyone who came out tonight. It's a really special thing to see this involvement from the student body. Just to reiterate a couple of the key points of my campaign, I'll be moving to continue to open the Treasury and to make it more accessible and available to student organizations as a whole. I will move to continue to increase financial literacy initiatives. I believe that's a very important thing, and I'm happy to have been the financial literacy treasurer in its first year of existence. I think that there's a lot of growth potential, and I think that with my knowledge and my experience, I'll be able to amplify that. And finally, I want to continue to modernize appropriations. This is something that we've all touched on. It seems like it's a very important issue. I've been involved in appropriations for my entire tenure in student government. I'm very familiar with all of the appropriations processes, administrative and otherwise, and I think that my unique experience will allow me to really tackle this head on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to thank all three of you for participating in the first ever student body treasurer debate.
And I would also like to thank our audience for attending this debate. Students, make sure to vote next week on Monday, March 3rd and Tuesday, March 4th for your next student leaders. Also, mark your calendars for the spring election reveal party taking place the following day on Wednesday, March 5th, starting at 6 p.m. in the Tally lobby. We hope to see you all there.
We will now take a 15-minute break before resuming at 7:45 for the Student Senate President debate. This concludes the Student Body Treasurer portion of the 2025 spring election debate. Please give all the candidates a round of applause.
All right. Welcome to the Spring 2025 Senate President Debate. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. My name is Zach Ettinger, and I serve as the Chair of Board of Elections for our student government. Thank you all for coming out to this event, and thank you to the Nubian Message and the technician for serving as our moderators. I'll turn the mic over to them now.
Hello, my name's Kate Denning. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Technician.
Hi, my name's Aliana, and I'm the editor-in-chief of not technician, the Nubian Message, and my pronouns are she, her.
Hi, my name is Shayar Del Judas. I'm the news editor of the Nubian Message, and my pronouns are she, her.
Thank you. Candidates, you now have 30 seconds each to introduce yourself. We'll start with Nyla Dean.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nyla Dean. I am a third year. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a microbiology student. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Chloe Webster.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chloe Webster, and I'm honored to be a candidate for Student Senate President. I'm here because I have a vision for Senate that builds community and uplifts one another. And I'm ready to get to work with energy and compassion. I'm ready to empower everyone inside Senate and the student body. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we begin with the questions, we have some general rules that we'll go over. The first rule is that we will be keeping timekeepers. They will be keeping, our time, and we'll make sure each candidate has the same amount of time to answer. Ainsley and Emily will be giving time, a yellow card signifying 15 seconds, and a red card signifying that the candidate has run out of time. And once the red card comes up, the candidate will be given a brief time to finish their sentence. So please keep it brief. Questions can be repeated upon request. And after we read the question, please wait for us to say your name before you start answering. Please keep this respectful and avoid any comments on character. Alongside, for the audience, please make sure you hold all applause until the end of the debate. Thank you. And with that, we'll turn it over to our moderators.
Thank you, Zach. Let's begin. We'll be asking 2 questions in total. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. We will start with Chloe and then Nyla. We will alternate which candidate answers first for each question. After each question has been answered by both candidates, each question will have 1 minute to rebuttal any of the other candidates' answers.
First question. An important part of being Senate President is remaining impartial while leading and mentoring senators. How do you plan to balance impartiality while ensuring all those running for Senate seats are able to achieve the goals they were elected for? Chloe?
I plan to do this by ensuring that I am not implementing my voice and that I'm using my ears. I think it is important to listen to the concerns of the Student Senate and to make sure that I'm taking in the concerns not only of the Student Senate, but the students who come to our Senate to speak with us, the students who reach out to us, the students who engage. And I think it's important to make sure when I'm reaching out to students, I am reaching out to all students. I'm connecting with all student organizations, getting all perspectives. And that is what's truly going to help me to remain impartial, is to ensure that I'm getting every perspective possible when I'm making my decisions.
Thank you. Nyla?
Thank you for the question. So I really enjoy this question because I think everyone has a unique voice, and I think all the voices should be uplifted and heard. And that's why part of my platform is to have an open door policy. And so it's just me listening to the concerns, helping people, wanting to ensure that their voices are heard and represented. And so I think being able to have this open door policy will allow everyone to feel comfortable and instill a sense of trust to be able to achieve their goals that they were elected for. So yeah.
Thank you. Candidates, you will now have the opportunity to rebuttal each other's answers for 1 minute. We will go in the same order as the questions were asked. Chloe?
Thank you. Yes, to elaborate on the ways I intend to outreach and to engage with students, because that's important for gaining the broad level of perspective necessary to ensure you're remaining impartial. Because if you're taking in your information from only one side, your decisions are not going to be made in the most ethical and balanced manner. I intend to reach out to student organizations at the beginning of the session to invite them to join in on a listserv where they can be updated about student senate activities every 2 weeks before our senate meetings, so that way they know they can come in and speak to us, because I think it's important and valuable to hear a broad range of perspectives in this way. And that's how I plan to be open to all perspectives, because I think it's on us to reach out first and not to rely on the student body to reach out to us every time.
Thank you. Nyla?
I would also like to just elaborate on my answer. I think also transparency is very important within our student senate. Transparency to the student campus community members of NC State, being able that they are able to hold ourselves, the student leaders, accountable to be able to accurately reflect their student concerns. And so I like to second what my opponent said about reaching out to student organizations. I think that's very important to being impartial, to hearing all the perspectives, to be able to ensuring that everyone has a voice in our student senate. And I want to drive all the student senators to be able to lead and just be a leadership mentor for each other, to be able to represent the students on campus. And that's through talking with these student organizations, hearing their concerns, being able to just empower themselves and other students to have a voice in our campus.
Thank you. We will now move on to the second and final question, which Nyla will answer first. The Student Senate President plays a key role in representing our university within the UNC Association of Student Governments, working with other institutions to advocate for student interests statewide. How would you leverage this position to ensure our student body's concerns are heard at the system-wide level? What specific initiatives or policies would you push for within ASG to benefit our students? Nyla?
Thank you for this question. So I really enjoy this question because I'm a big believer in advocacy, and everyone has their own voices to be heard. And so I really enjoy being able to voice my concerns, being able to advocate to the UNC system, to be able to advocate to the university, and so some of the initiatives and policies and stuff that I'm already currently involved with and very passionate about is related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think that this is a major issue that will just see to be an increasing issue within our student body related to academic freedom being stripped away by the UNC system and by just the United States in general, the government. And so I'm currently in discussions with faculty senate members, staff senate members. We all have a shared concern that this is something that needs to be addressed to the UNC system level, and that we will address it. And so we want to have professors to be able to teach freely what they want to have said in their classroom, what they want to have in their classroom. And we also want students to be able to get a proper education for any issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Chloe?
Thank you so much. I too really enjoy this question, and I'd like to share the work I did at ASG this past year. I was able to represent our NCSU delegation back in November, where I advocated for our free expression. You know, we answer to the Board of Governors. We answer to a lot of institutions above us, and it is important that we take our concerns and we work with the other UNC schools who often share the same concerns. When we see policies coming in that are impinging on our rights to freely express our concerns, then we can't effectively advocate. So that's what I really want to see, because I think open discussion is very important for building community. And our community is more than just NC State. It is the entire UNC system. And I want to amplify the voices from our student body and then make that community extend into our whole state so we can advocate as one.
Thank you. Candidates, you now have the opportunity to rebuttal each other's answer for 1 minute. We will go in the same order as the questions were asked. Nyla?
I would like to elaborate further on my answer. This one, I feel like I don't talk about it enough, but it's something that was very meaningful to me over the summer with the Board of Governors removing DEI. I was able to attend the Board of Governors meeting that took place to be able to decided whether or not the DEI would be removed from our campuses. And so I actually facilitated a lot of cross-campus collaboration related to a press release that was hosted right before this Board of Governors meeting. So I contacted probably almost every single university, like student government member or student leader that I could get a hold of back in the May. And so we were able to, I think there was about 5 universities that came, like UNC Asheville, NC A&T, and just a few others I can't think off the top of my head. We all went there, advocated outside for our rights to have DEI within our campuses. And I was able to also attend the meeting inside and see how the Board of Governors worked.
Thank you. Chloe?
I too would like to elaborate. I have experience not only within this institution in the UNC system. Before I came here, I went to the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, where I served as the student body president. I had experience engaging with our chancellor. I've talked to our Board of Governors. I've advocated for student concerns that we shared at UNCSA, and a lot of those concerns we see here too. And I want to make sure that we are able to equally share our voices to our student senate, who then can share those concerns to me. And I'm able to navigate all perspectives when I go into situations where I'm navigating complex conversations with higher administration, with our Board of Governors, with the ASG delegations. And that's what I find really important, is to come together, build community, and advocate effectively.
Thank you. Chloe and Nyla, you will now have each 1 minute for closing statements. Nyla, the floor is yours.
Thank you guys so much for being here. This is something that I'm super passionate about. As a senior most member of the Student Senate, I worked in Senate since fall of 2022, serving students, advocating on behalf of them. And it's just been such an honor that I'm able to be the leader of this legislative branch in which I essentially grew up in. And so I just wanted to reiterate some of my platform points that you all can check out on my website, nyladean.com. Basically, I stand for a DEI commitment, which means ensuring that our DEIs in our academic classrooms and cultural awareness is upheld within the Student Senate and also in our campus community. Transparency of our Student Senate. I want to make sure that student leaders are being held accountable to accurately reflect the student voices and concerns. Student outreach. We want to hear students. We want to engage in them, help them learn about our processes, and just work with them on legislation to get their support. Leadership development. I think every center is able to become a great leader, and we are shaping the future leaders of our student government members. And lastly, senator engagement. I think it is a big issue that we need to prioritize our well-being of our student senators to have a lasting and positive commitment for them in our Senate.
Thank you. Chloe, the floor is yours.
Thank you. A connected Senate is a strong Senate. Community in difficult times is more important now than ever. Now we need to hear each other. We need to listen. We need to come together. And I will make sure this happens. We all know that Senate is no stranger to disagreement. It's no stranger to polarization. And Senate does not come without its difficulties. And I'm ready to lead us in a direction of positivity, compassion, and empathy. I'm ready to hear all sides. It's time we engage. It's time we energize. And it is time we empower the student voice.
Thank you. I want to thank you both for participating in this debate.
I would also like to thank our audience for attending this debate. Students, you can vote next week on Monday, March 3rd and Tuesday, March 4th for your next student leaders. Also mark your calendars for the spring election reveal party taking place the following day on Wednesday, March 5th, starting at 6 p.m. in the Tally lobby.
We will now take a break before resuming at 8:45 p.m. for the student body presidential debate. This concludes the Student Senate President portion of the 2025 spring election debate. Please give both candidates a round of applause.
Right.